I'm Randy Gates from Out of the Box, and we teach people about sustainable construction and food growing techniques in urban environments. Here we are building an earthen wall at the Willy St Co-op in Madison, Wisconsin. Basically, it's a garden wall, and I'm sitting right on the side of where one of the big arches is going to be, if you can imagine that. And there'll be 3 arches that direction and 3 more this direction.
There's several of us that have come together after years of doing natural building and permaculture. And one of the things we're really committed to is working in an urban environment. Kind of go back to the culture and the politics of where we're at. Costs tend to have a lot to do with labor today, and cob can be a very, very labor-intensive process. So depending on where you get your labor, cob can be one of the least expensive ways to build any structure. If you take earthen materials, clay, sand, and straw, very available, very local, and you have volunteer labor, which we have here on this project to build this entire wall, and we educate people on how to do it. The difference is that labor and our time is so tight that most people will work many, many years to pay for the things that they will then turn around and buy from someone else, like their housing. What we're interested in doing is mixing together the ancient technology of cob, which was done in Europe extensively 400 or 500 years ago, before they started cutting large trees down and making a lot of timbers. It was fairly slow to do that. And it was found over the centuries, of course, that earthen materials, clay, sand, could be mixed together and made kind of a type of cement almost that lasted over thousands of years. So the longevity was guaranteed also. As long as you gave it, again, a good foundation and a good roof over the top of it, it could last virtually forever. There's buildings that are thousands of years old. In Yemen, there's an 8-story structure. And in England, there's many, many tens of thousands of homes still built out of this material.
So what Out of the Box is geared towards is educating urban communities about natural building and edible landscaping is kind of our catchphrase. It's human scale. So I think that's what makes it really nice, because the people then really connect with this structure. 250 years. How about
642,000?
Yes, how about 500 to 1,000 years? Well, that's how long this could last, as long as we protect it from the rain. It could virtually last forever. Look at this house made out of, this is just made out of this right here.
Where is that?
Same stuff. This is in Canada.
We're gonna do this right here.
Right now we're putting this thing here so we can put our roof shingle on top of it. Parts of the pyramids and the Great Wall of China, those are all made out of some of this same material. It's only been drying since yesterday. It was made yesterday afternoon.
Is it heavy, Grace? Yes, it's heavy.
And that's only a little piece. Imagine how much this wall weighs.
No. I would not want to carry that one.
We want it to look nice and creamy, because then that shows that the clay and the sand are all very evenly mixed.
That looks like
And
so much fun.
It is fun. Wait till you guys get to do it. You guys are going to use a half bucket of sand and a half bucket of clay.
More straw from the back, the yellow stuff in the back.
The burrito.
It's a burrito. Who brought the sour cream and the salsa?
Who's gonna eat it? Yeah. You eat it. You eat it. We want to put our foot in the plaster.
Who wants to dance? All right, all right. Okay, on my nose.
Okay.
We're gonna put half a bucket of sand first, and then half a bucket of clay on all the tarps, okay? I studied a master's degree in education, but it was environmental education, and the whole focus was on sustainability. And trained with master builder Yanto Evans with the Cobb Cottage Company, and then went down to South America to study under master builder Sergio Andrade, who was really famous for his use of cob blended with beautifully sculpted natural roundwoods. I do a lot of independent work for Acorn Enterprises, doing straw bale and other types of natural building.
Worked with cob, worked with straw bale, built some buildings both in a contract form and as an educator. And I also studied with Yanto Evans of Cobb Cottage, and he and that style of teaching workshops of really empowering people really infected both of us.
It's a different feeling when you're actually doing physical labor with other people. The kind of interactions you get to have, the real engaging interactions you get to have with people to produce something very real.
We packed these rocks into our foundation. It's 4 feet deep, and on top of that we stacked what is euphemistically known as urbanite. So all we've done is we've taken and reused it. Now when we went here and we mortared between the 2 Portland cement objects here, we actually used lime, sand, and burnt clay. And it actually absorbs carbon dioxide as it cures. This is known as Roman concrete, and one of the reasons is that the Romans were so successful at building many structures around Europe and North Africa out of this. It's Roman concrete or Egyptian concrete, so it has lasted thousands of years. At this point, it's over 7 feet deep. So all the water that's coming from underneath this foundation can drain into this point.
What you're doing is you're smearing the clay on every grain of sand. And then when that clay dries, it sucks the sand together, and those angular pieces are what creates the strength of the wall.
And this right back here, our straw, will be our rebar.
Let's start dancing kind of the little bounce. And this is the time after we keep flipping where it's going to start getting really thick, and you're going to start using more of a heel move because you're going to try bashing the straw through the clay. You're trying to add as much straw as the mix will accept.
Gritty, and it's really hard to pull it apart, and kind of like a Play-Doh maybe.
Cob is an old English term that means lump or loaf.
Like rot, termites, fire, these are the things that make buildings fall apart.
Some more dancing.
And with cob, you have none of those things. Cob doesn't rot, termites don't eat it, and fire just makes it harder. And there's a home that survived 3 earthquakes in New Zealand that was made out of cob. And if we don't like it somewhere, we'll just peel back a little bit of it. But they usually have a bucket of this clay slip with water laying around. You know, we can even do this to it, you know. This is what you do in pottery when you want to adhere something to it.
We will cob all the way up to this edge, and we're going to cob all the way through here. So we'll have cob tubes basically going through here. And when that's all cobbed up and that dries, there's no way anyone could even consider pulling this out of the cob.
Well, with education, Randy and I borrowed a term called hand to heart to head, and we feel like people learn about their innate skills of how to build something and how to build something strong and how things mix and what a good mix is and all that through actually doing it. That's the hand part. And then it gets in their heart, like people get really excited and they want to come back and they're really thrilled with the whole concept of what they're building and that they can build it. But then their head starts to get involved, and the head really is seen as the last piece. The head is where it gets locked in, all the details of how to do it. And through that, their belief systems about what's possible for themselves and for the world.
Oh yeah.
So when a cob wall catches on fire, it actually fires it like a pot. It becomes even stronger.
Cool.
So it's nearly indestructible.
So would it be good for it to catch on fire?
It could be. It's all scrap. This is all in the trash, and we made it. And this is what the roof.
Except for the drill.
To me, this is just the perfect medium to teach through, because it's just so hands-on, and the kids can sculpt with it, and it's so macroscopic, the scope of building, that it's perfect for their brains. And when it's done, they're really excited about bringing their families back here on the weekend, and they want to come help build more of the wall.
We've had just an interesting mix. People come by and then they go back and they get their kids and they get dirty clothes and they come back. And so many questions have been asked by people when they come up and they say, what about this, what about that? And we show them our display over there. It shows all the different kinds of natural building. And I really think it's helped to educate people on natural building, which doesn't have much of a voice really in the Midwest. So.
This is just earth. It's just clay, sand, straw, water. That's it. We mix it by stomping on it with our feet. The best quality cob is mixed with with human power. It's one of the best materials to build with an earthquake.
Really?
Adobe is a poor solution because it makes the brick, so there's lots of weak points. Every spot where you have a seam, it could crack, and that's why it falls down a lot, the Adobe stuff. But this is the same idea, except because we're sculpting it all together, the whole thing is one big, massive brick. I don't know if the cob polka's ever been done before. This is awesome. There we go.
I live in Nicaragua. In my country, in cob, we believe that this is the best material. We have cities before Christ who was building with cob. And they're still here.
I'm excited to see the progress. So this is the first time for me. But I love it. It's fun.
Well, it's really muddy. Hey guys! I made a kind of hard work. Because you have to dump a lot.
What a great opportunity to learn how to do it. Maybe I can make my own cob house.
and I thought, what a great way to actually get my hands in the mud, literally, and learn about it and just give it a shot. See how effective it is, and if it's sustainable, and if this sort of thing can last as a real living environment, which is kind of my curiosity, and I guess that's what we're finding out today. So. I'm here because mud in between my toes is one of the sexiest feelings I've ever experienced.
It's really special to me that the out-of-the-box people are organizing people to gather in a city to make a wall in a very public place. It's very central to our neighborhood. You can reach a lot more people in a city. So that's what's really special to me about this particular cobbing experience, is that it's taking place in an urban neighborhood. And I just have to see a lot more of that in the future.
Well, I think it's viable. It's really strong stuff. I never would have guessed that it would turn out so hard.
It's such a much more interesting way to build. I mean, look around. It's like everybody's putting their heart and their intuition and their sort of insights into it, so you get a building that kind of evolves out of people's handiwork and what makes sense. So I think it's a super interesting way to build.
You get beside it and say, oh.
How did we ever forget this as a people?
I know it. It's so easy. I mean, it just feels so natural. I'm so thankful to see this stuff happening in the city because it's kind of what keeps me sane.
I'd like to see more natural building materials used and less of the ticky-tacky houses that I see going up. And that's what brought me here, is to find out about it.
You're practicing some more for when I can build maybe a house or something like that later on in the future.
I'm gonna use this to make a cob oven in my backyard, I think.
I like to get dirty, that's why I'm here today.
It's a lot more fun than I thought it would be.
Yeah, actually it is.
It's just a great day to build a cob wall, you know?
I live in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee. We're up visiting friends. A friend of mine in the next county over, who really lives in the middle of nowhere, said, gee, when you're coming up, you have to come see the cob wall being built in Madison.
When we
It'd
do
be
it, to
so
do it
cool
like
to
this,
live in a house made out of
make
this.
it flatter, like a
It'd be
hot
fun to
dog
make.
bun.
Yeah.
I think this is the most worthwhile thing I've ever done. It means something, you know?
The main thing standing in the way right now is not the materials, not the unskilled labor, but the codes. And I understand why the codes are made, and it's supposed to protect the people, but this stuff is so overbuilt. I think it'd be good for people to get involved in building their own homes again.
Dan and Val contacted me 6 months ago and wanted to get going right away doing a straw bale home. So what this is demonstrating how you can use natural building materials with the existing codes in effect. Basically, we're not using the straw bale for structure as would be used in other straw bale houses. We're using conventionally baled wheat straw, and we're fitting it between the studs of the home. And we space the studs at 19.2 inches on center, so that the bales fit tightly in between, and we're putting in a peg, wooden peg, to hold the bales in laterally so they can't slip in and out. And then we're going to be placing some plastic fiber netting on the outside to hold the plaster, and then we'll be spraying a coat of earth and plaster over the top of that.
The plan is we build this one successfully. We could build this exact same house in the middle of Madison. Then we can start to try for other things, maybe a load-bearing straw bale house, or maybe start to get approved load-bearing cob walls. This is a little bit different than you know, just a home builder's approach, where, you know, maybe it takes you 2-3 seasons to build your house. This is going to get built in half a building season. It does take out a lot of the stuff, the community building aspect, when it's commercially built. This is Acorn Enterprises. We do natural building, we do green building, we do remodeling, we do new construction, we do fine furniture, we do permaculture work, all different types of stuff. Some of the faces here you may seem familiar, you may have seen them before at the Willy St project, because everybody who's involved with Acorn are basically the natural builders that are in the area. I used to work on a concrete crew. I used to be involved in commercial deck building, and never in any of those projects was anything considered about, you know, where the materials came from or the health for the worker, none of that. And this is one of the best commercial sites I've ever worked on. Whenever we're using materials, everyone's very conscious of how the material is going to be used, or if we could use scrap instead, and everyone's very conscious about not hurting your body, proper body mechanics, and at lunch, you know, we all sit around and great conversations about, you know, local politics.
In general, I think straw bale, when you have a team of builders build it for you, costs usually almost exactly the same. Because the trade-off is materials are going to be cheaper in general, but the labor is more because it's more labor intensive. So it ends up costing same as your Don Simon vinyl sided home usually.
Yeah, I've worked on 3 other straw bale houses in the area. This is one of the larger ones, that's for sure. It's just beautiful. And all 3 are up and running and warm as can be right now.
Because at this point, you really have to overdo things in order to meet code. And, you know, so many of these natural building techniques really can be structural and can be beautiful and can hold up on their own without having to use, you know, all this timber framing in order
I
to
have a couple layers of plaster work, go from the bottom plate down at the corners here all the way up to the screed board that I'm putting on. Have their electrical outlets mounted to the floor that way. So those 3 different things.
This is definitely the sloppy job.
What we're doing is, it's evolutionary. We're building the hybrid house to show that there's value in the technology. Right now we're structuring it conventionally and insulating it with straw bale. And the goal is to have codes respond to a fully structured straw bale house. A certain amount of interpretation with each individual inspector. In this case, the inspectors, rightly so, have been pretty strict with us to make sure that all the details are done right. And that's really good that we get on good footing and make sure that we work out these details carefully.
First we stuff it with flakes and then we go around with straw clay and push real hard and stuff it with straw clay. So it's going to be real tight.
The bales themselves, once they're set in the walls, are actually extremely fire resistant.
Really, once you put the clay slip on, every single strand of straw that's exposed is covered in clay. There's been fire rating tests done on straw bale and it's passed with flying colors.
This is a custom bale built to put in the windows, and it's the last bale of the house. That's it.
Looks like a perfect fit.
It is a perfect fit.
You know, the ideal would be to use all natural materials from the land, and we're trying to do that as much as possible here.
Okay, that's the recycled satellite dish. These dishes are obsolete. They wind up in landfills, and we pay to bury them. It's a perfect backdrop for plaster. And those holes in the roof are where trees are actually going to grow down from the ground and through the roof. So right here you have 3 big trees that are going to grow through the roof.
A masonry heater is a very efficient fireplace. It's like a wood-burning stove, except it stores the heat. It'll store a lot more BTUs than a fireplace will. This is really going to be cool because this is going to be all stone along this whole curved surface.
We feel like once people start experiencing more curvilinear space, they might be able to create more of a demand for more naturally curvilinear materials, such as more round wood being used in applications for posts and stuff like that. And the colors of the earthen plasters and the colors of the roofing material are all going to be colors of natural things to hopefully have this house blend more into this environment here on this slope side. Even though there's a lot of framing, the curves and everything are really going to be testament when people come and visit this house and feel the curved spaces. My experience has been anybody who has been inside of a straw bale house that I've taken them to, or any type of earthen construction, natural building projects, and just the quality of light and the quality of sound and the feeling of the air, once they've experienced it, they're just kind of overwhelmed and swept away. You know, a lot of the literature out there says you can build straw bale for, you know, $30, $40, $50 a square foot, but if you're looking at it from a contractor side of point of view, that's just not correct. It costs slightly more than a cheap traditional home per square foot. So we're slightly over $100 a square foot. So for slightly more than regular new construction, they're getting curvilinear space, they're getting natural materials, local materials, healthy places to live, and also it performs. You know, straw bale is super energy efficient. So that slight increase in the beginning here, if you're actually paying the full cost for materials, the full environmental and social impact of where a lot of our traditional building materials come from, this is actually still a cheaper investment. They'll make that money up just in the energy savings alone. It's just really amazing. This is just a perfect example, a living example of what can happen when people come together and work on something. This really shows how important human labor can be, and when we work together, what we can accomplish, you know. So right now we're trying to get a good bucket's worth of lime putty. Well, lime is great for exterior plasters. It really becomes hard, somewhat like Portland cement, but it's a lot more permeable. The plaster that we're using here has lots of lime, lots of sand, and some fiber. And the reason why we've chosen a lime plaster is because this is an exterior application that's going to receive rain and snow. And so in order to make this a lot stronger, we've chosen to use lime. If this was an area that had severe overhangs, or if it was going to be an indoor space, I would probably opt out of the lime and use more of an earthen mix, just a sand, clay, and straw, and then add linseed oil. So we've added a pozzolanic additive to try to decrease the set time,
What kind
so
of
speed
additive
it up.
is it?
Pozzolanic.
What does that mean?
The pozzolanic reaction is what happens when the Romans used to make Roman concrete and they used lime, sand, and volcanic ash. Basically, it's anything that has higher concentration of silica and aluminum, and it helps speed up the absorption of the carbon dioxide, turning it back into limestone. Our formula right now is 2 1/4 buckets of sand, 1 bucket of lime, 1 yogurt cup of our burnt clay, of our grog. So we're trying to get some more pozzolanic reaction going on, but we didn't want to add too much so it was too impermeable. We wanted it still to breathe some. And then 5 or 6 big handfuls of straw. Well, this is red iron oxide, this is yellow iron oxide, this is burnt umber, and that is yellow ochre. And our lovely partner in crime and other Midwestern natural builder extraordinaire, Eric Nelson, right here, let us use some of his pigments. Yeah, get on in there.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah,
that's the good stuff.
That's the reason they have to use lime is because the fertilizer has caused the pH to be all screwed up.
It's like being a kid again and playing in the mud. So, it's a good time. It's meditative. That's how I feel. That's all. Kind of reminds me of baking or sculpting, you know, with clay. Kind of feels like that. You don't have to be a master carpenter to do this. So I think it's good because you get a direct participation in building, which, you know, these days everybody's so specialized. You have to be a certified this and a certified that to do anything.
I think it's beautiful. I just came today and saw it for the first time, so I didn't get to see all the yummy cob inside of it, but it makes me happy just to look at it. It's really nice because I don't like normal paints because they have all the chemicals in them, and it's one thing that I've really thought, how do you have an alternative to paint? And this is a perfect alternative. It still protects the surface that you're painting. You can still make it colored, but it's all natural.
What we're doing now is we're using lime wash, which has iron oxide in it, and we're just kind of painting it on, and this will fill in little miniature cracks and kind of set the color a little deeper.
I'm just cleaning up these edges and getting this plaster off the concrete. It's a lot easier to do it at this point than later. Like, I think this is a neat project right outside the co-op, so I thought I'd come today and help finish up and help plaster.
I love it. If I could do it every day, I would, and I might for a while. So,
You're gonna build a house out of this?
That's the plan.
All cop?
Yeah.
We have a lot to learn from history. Our future lies in understanding some of the things that we've learned in the past.
Roman concrete is just a great thing, but it totally got left in the dust. It was used for a long time, and then when Portland cement became popular, that just stole all the momentum out of old masonry techniques. A lot of people seem to really agree that it's a lot more durable product. The problem is it falls into that same warped calculus of wanting everything fast. So I think a lot of research needs to be done comparing the benefits of lime to Portland cement so that it can start getting approved in city codes across the country.
We take the best from the past and we add what we know in the present, and that's how we make a future. And it seems arrogant to me to assume that people in the past didn't know anything, and it also seems arrogant to think that they knew more than we did, because in reality, to me, I think what they did is they knew something different, which is exactly what permaculture is about, is like looking at how things have been done traditionally and using our scientific knowledge and making it even better.
Andy's got this great quote from his friend Lars. He's a natural builder from Denmark. I like it.
He was like, well, straw bale, if you look at a bale, it's really not that interesting. And the only way you're going to change people is if you have more fun than they do.